I'm live now, and my EP is asking for money. All right. You know how to hit it? Mm-hmm. Let me know if you see me. Fight for power, come on. Yes. You see me? Good job. We'll talk about your pain later. Number, another summer. Sound of the funky drummer. Listen, welcome to Civics for the Soul. Thank you all so much for coming back. Welcome, welcome. As you know, every week we talk about civics, history, community, and culture. I'm going to turn it down just a tad bit. I want to thank each and every one of you who reached out to me while I was down. The sister was down for the count, not out, but down for a couple of days. Hold on. Fight the power. We're going to talk about why I'm playing this. There we go. So thank you, everybody who reached out to me. I'm feeling a whole lot better. Sometimes the universe tells you got to sit down, so I'm sitting down. Hey there, T. Christy. Thank you so much for everything. And thank you for joining me. So listen, everybody, I wasn't even going to talk about white supremacy in this way today. I was going to dedicate this show basically to the mediocrity of Justice Samuel Alito. That's what I had planned to do. But unfortunately, yesterday, a white supremacist with a 180-page white supremacist manifesto drove down to, I think they were in Buffalo, New York, and he drove down to a predominantly Black, low-income community and murdered 10 Black people. I think there were 3 others who were injured. And so I know so many people, we always say, our hearts and prayers go with the family. But I do want to, as we get the names, whether it's this week or next week, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do my part in honoring and lifting up their spirits. No one should have to die for this reason. White supremacist ideology. The name of the market, I think, was Tops Market. It's on Jefferson. My understanding from the people on the ground, the people who are talking about it, says that this was the lone grocery store in this community. It's a Black community living in a food desert. And because of the actions of the people there for decades, these people and their civic actions, they fought to get a store there in 2003. And it's not just a regular grocery store. It's like a community space. It's rooted in the community. You can pay your bills there. You do your shopping, do the things that you need to do. A lot of people go there, particularly a lot of Black women go shopping there. And so the murderer, this white supremacist, decided, he outlined the whole thing. He live streamed it. I think it was either on Twitch or something. I don't know. He live streamed the whole thing. He specifically targeted this community because he said it had the highest concentration of Black people. He goes on to say that there is a white genocide taking place in America. Sir, you sit all the way down, throwing out words and terms you don't even understand. But that's why they don't want our kids to learn anything in schools, because now our kids are going to start thinking that the Black people are the racists. And in fact, there's a white genocide. No such thing. White genocide. The whole crux of this country, the entire basis of it, is founded on a theft, the theft of land by the indigenous and the theft of people. White genocide, my behind. He also goes on to say that he supports those that wish for a future for white children and the existence of our people. This is why I'm playing Public Enemy, because in 1990, they came up with an album, and it's called Fear of a Black Planet. And that's what this is about. Fear of a Black planet, fear of a Black-led multiracial democracy. What we know is that America was supposed to be founded as a white settler colonial nation. That's what it was supposed to be set up for. They stole the land, they stole the people, and they set it up for all the white people to benefit. They let them out of the prisons in Europe and everywhere else, sent all the immigrants on that they didn't want there in Europe, sent them here, white settler colonial nation. Black people were chattel under the Constitution. Then we were 3/5 of a person when they amended the Constitution. Then so on and so on. Black people were chattel, and we are supposed to be subjugated in their minds, always subjugated. And it's supposed to stay that way. Unfortunately, Black people said, we're not hearing that. Fought a whole war, emancipated ourselves. We fled the plantations. We left, fought in the war, brought about the end, brought about our emancipation, our freedom. We forced the passing of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments. I'm always going to come to this when we talk about civics, because they're so important. The 13th Amendment, which abolished slavery, except for in the case of commission of a crime. The 14th Amendment, which was supposed to apply to everyone, is supposed to make the Black people who were formerly chattel, supposed to make us citizens. Now, it doesn't even talk about humanity. That's a whole other class that I'll deal with, because I don't think they ever acknowledge our humanity. But it's supposed to make Black people citizens, and it's supposed to be equal application of the law. And then you have the 15th giving, Black men the right to vote. So Black people forced the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. That messed up their whole thing, their whole white supremacist ideology and regime. We messed it up. I want you all to remember the 14th Amendment, because I'm going to come back to that. Remember that. It's equal application of the law to everybody. Okay. Here's what we know about white supremacy. White supremacy is a hell of a drug. And it is what Bree Newsom Bass, I think, called a scorched earth policy. What does that mean? It means this. If they cannot preserve white supremacy through the law, through the interpretation of the law, that's what the Supreme Court is supposed to be doing. If they cannot do it, they will do it by violence. And that is what Peyton Gendron, this is the white, I think that's his name, white supremacist murderer. That's what he understood. He understands his assignment, right? If they cannot preserve it through our laws, they are going to preserve it by violence. So, as you all know, this is what I was really supposed to be talking about. Someone leaked the draft opinion of the United States Supreme Court's decision in a case that is going to overturn Roe versus Wade. The name of the case is, they normally name it after whoever is in the office that is filing the lawsuit. So it's Thomas E. Dobbs, that's the state health officer for the Mississippi Department of Health, versus the Jackson's Women's Health Organization. Okay. You all know Roe v. Wade is the landmark Supreme Court decision that legalized abortion access in the United States. There have been different ways to interpret that by law, and whether a fetus is viable after a certain period of time, 15 weeks, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And look, our teachers are doing this hard work. She says she just taught the amendments to her students. Listen, I'm going to come up with a whole other curriculum specifically on these particular amendments, because if we don't know any other amendments, we need to know these. So you can access, if you want to take a look at whatever this case is, I think you can get on politico.com. Anyway, so there are going to be people who are going to come out. They're going to talk about this case because it's a draft opinion. It was leaked. I think it's hilarious that they're going to get someone to investigate who leaked it, because they believe that they're entitled to a right of privacy in the Supreme Court, a right of privacy that they're basically saying that no one else has. They've got it, but nobody else got it. White settler colonial state. Here we go. Anyway, there are people going to analyze this. They're going to talk about how this is not only going to affect abortion access, but it's going to talk about and deal specifically with whether we even have a right to privacy under the law. It's going to deal with, in effect, I believe, contraception. It's going to deal with, intimate actions, gay marriage, all of that. It's going to affect all that. That is absolutely true. They'll be right when they talk about this. But make no mistake that this draft opinion by Samuel Alito, who is one of the most mediocre to ever do it. I know they say some are the best to ever do it. He's the most mediocre to ever do it. Make no mistake, this opinion is in itself a white supremacist manifesto. It's 98 pages. I tried to read the whole thing, and I was trying to do it in good faith. I got to like page 12, and I already knew where this whole thing was going, because it's a setup. I already know his arguments, how he's laying it out, what he's going to do. So let me tell you exactly what it says. In his argument, he says that if a right, we have these express enumerated rights that are very express and explicit. You have freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Those are enumerated. But if it's not expressly enumerated in the Constitution, they're basically saying you don't have protection, not under the Constitution, okay? And so the states can basically do whatever they want to do in this area, okay? He prefaces his argument by saying that the Constitution doesn't even mention abortion. Well, the Constitution don't even mention the Air Force, and yet here we are with a big Air Force in the United States. Get out of here. Doesn't have to be expressly enumerated. The lies they take. Okay. The opinion also says that the reasoning in Roe is unconstitutional. He goes on. Okay, I said I was going to give up the term jive food turkey, but I mean, it's just so applicable here. He says that it was unconstitutional then. Everybody else knew it. It's an abuse of judicial authority, yada, yada, yada. Provides no basis. All he's doing, he is writing his random thoughts. He's not even quoting to cases, law. I'm looking at the whole thing, and I'm wondering, y'all were questioning Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson about her qualifications. We should have questioned you a little bit more. One of the most mediocre to ever do it. He also goes in and talks about Planned Parenthood versus Casey, which is the case that revisited Roe and came up with the whole fetal viability standards. He says that basically this court, they didn't even try to figure it out. They just followed what they call stare decisis. And that stare decisis, for all of y'all who don't know, it just says that it's legal precedent, and that if there is precedent, you're supposed to follow it. Previous courts, if they ruled on it and considered it, okay, you're supposed to follow it. That's what stare decisis is. Basically, he says stare decisis, you can throw that crap out the window. Forget that. We ain't doing that no more. To hell with it. And so I'm also thinking about every judge, recent judge, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Amy, her name, whatever. All of them who got up there and basically said, well, Roe is precedent and Casey is precedent and precedent. And, they're stare decisis, and we're supposed to follow it. They never said whether they were going to overturn it or not. They're real slick about it. But they did say, oh, well, we acknowledge that, there is stare decisis. We're not going to tell you that we're about to overturn all that, but we acknowledge that. This is what they said. Okay, here's the holding. Get to the meat of it. In this holding of this, that's seen in this draft opinion, it says, we hold that Roe and Casey be overruled. The Constitution makes no reference to abortion. No such right is implicitly protected by any constitutional provision, and not under the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. Remember that 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment guarantees some rights, but those rights must be deeply rooted. Watch this. Deeply rooted in this nation's history and tradition, and implicit in the notion of ordered liberty. Let me explain what that means. What they're saying is that in order for an implicit right that you have, something that is not expressly enumerated, an implicit right has to be protected by the 14th Amendment. And the way that you know this, it must be deeply rooted in the nation's history and tradition. What nation's history and tradition are you talking about? The white supremacist one? The racist one? The sexist one? The xenophobic one? I mean, we know we have a deeply rooted national history, rooted in theft, the stealing of land, stealing of people, subjugation of people, white supremacist social and political order, not to mention racial capitalism. That's the history and tradition. You want us to root all the laws that, see, they're telling you exactly where they're going with this. In order for you to have any rights, it's got to be rooted in white supremacy. That's basically what he's saying to all of us. I want you all to remember, because there are people, like I said, they're going to talk about this Roe v. Wade, and it is about women's bodies and women's rights and autonomy and choice and whether we have privacy. It is about that, but it's not. It's really about anti-Black white supremacy. Remember, Brown v. Board of Education, landmark decision by the United States Supreme Court. And in that case, we all know that the court said that separate but equal is unconstitutional. What amendment did they find that under? 14th Amendment. They said it doesn't matter if the schools are similarly situated, doesn't matter. Separate but equal is unconstitutional under the 14th Amendment. Well, here we go. If we talk about Alito's reasoning, if under his reasoning, if it's not an expressly enumerated right, then there's no protection, right? And we all know there's no right to an education anywhere in the Constitution. It's not there. There's no right to have desegregated schools anywhere in that Constitution. You remember that all of those justices, Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, Amy, even Clarence Thomas, all of them, when they asked them whether they felt that Brown v. Board was rightly decided, they all said nothing. They refused to answer the question. Just like they refused to answer those questions about Roe v. Wade. I'm telling you what they're doing. This is the setup. All roads lead to Brown v. Board of Education. Because fundamentally, Black people are supposed to be subjugated. We're supposed to be on the plantation. They don't even know what happened here. They fought a whole war over it. They still fighting a war over it. They told you where we were supposed to be in this pecking order. Black, Indigenous, other people of color, Asian Americans, doesn't matter. All y'all supposed to be subjugated, but Black people probably first. All roads lead to Brown. All roads lead to preserving white supremacy. All roads lead to an apartheid state. All roads lead to fascism. I'm going to get to those other topics. We'll get to fascism eventually, because that's what this is also leading to. I don't have anything positive to say today. I'm a bit outdone, but I do appreciate everyone for taking a listen. Share this with your family. Share this with your kids that you know. I'm going to be working on some stuff this summer, specifically tailored to young people, so that they understand the meaning of these amendments and they understand what it means for white supremacy, the white supremacist regime to take hold. So thank you so much. If you liked it, like it, subscribe, send it to people. I so appreciate all of you. Peace and love to each and every one of you all. Until next week. Have a good one.